It's smaller than usual. I'm gonna take pictures with this, that, at a later time.
All right, sounds good. Okay, it's 1:35 on August 13th, 2025. We call to order this hearing for Bonner County Commissioners and the Planning Department. We have 4 files on the agenda today. We're going to start with file S0003-24, long plat for Sawbuck Estates, second edition. And before we begin, does anybody need any accommodations for hearing or otherwise? I'm going to pause for a technical issue. The screen went blank on the recorder. Is that normal? It's only because I touched it. It's power button. I'm totally fine.
There we go. I broke it. Spot on top. Batteries.
Really good. All right, so with that, does anybody need any accommodations for hearing or otherwise? Okay, not seeing any. Start off with conflicts of interest on the board.
Commissioner Corn has no conflicts.
Commissioner Donahue has no conflicts. And then with that, we'll turn it over to staff to go through their report for these.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jason Johnson, Bonner County Planning. We're here today to discuss file S0003-24, Sawbuck Estates second edition. The applicant is requesting to subdivide and plat 2 parcels totaling approximately 45 acres into 9 residential lots of approximately 5 acres each. Property is zoned for rural 5. Proposed subdivision is adjacent to the platted minor land divisions of Sawbuck Estates first edition, and Sawbuck Forest, and is on Sawbuck Road off of Kelso Lake Road, section 16, township 57 north, range 2 west, Boise Meridian, Bonner County, Idaho. Screen there are the dates that the required noticing was accomplished on this file, as well as a view of the site. In general, a residential use is intended for this subdivision. These parcels are unplatted. They are zoned on the map as rural 5 and forest 40. We'll be talking about that later. The BOCC made a determination that this entire area is zoned as rural 5. We'll touch on that later in the presentation. Site has frontage on and is accessed via Sawbuck Road. It's a private road accessed off of Kelso Lake Road. Kelso Lake Road is a county maintained gravel road. Sawbuck Road is a private local road. Per the applicant, Sawbuck Road was reconstructed in summer 2021 to have a 22-foot travel way with fresh base rock and surfacing. And it comprises a 60-foot wide ingress, egress, and utilities easement in total. Water and sewer service, individual wells and septic systems are planned. The application states that Northern Lights provides power, sites within Spirit Lake Fire District and West Bonner School District number 83. The site's mostly flat, contains almost no slopes or slopes of less than 15% grade. It does have some limited areas in the east where the slopes are over 30% grade. Site has no mapped wetlands, no mapped water bodies, streams, lakes, rivers, has no floodplain. The site contains Bonner gravelly ashy silt loam. It's classed as prime farmland. No local, state, or federal agencies identified any critical wildlife habitats on or within the vicinity of the subject property. The site is zoned as R5, rural 5. It's comp plan designated as rural residential. Currently vacant, surrounded on all sides by rural 5, forest 40, and ag forest 20 land, all of which is either vacant or put to residential use. Another slightly zoomed in view of the site there. This is the zoning and the land use designation for the site. Wetland map is the green blob off to the side there. It's nowhere near the site in question. There are some steep slopes that go just along the eastern boundary of the property there. The red area is slopes over 30%. Yellow is slopes between 15 and 30%. The soil map, again, it's Bonner, gravelly, ashy, silt loam. There's about 130 feet of land in there that you can see isn't actually colored blue. And then there's a tiny bit of green edging into it as well. In cases like this, staff is required to go before the commissioners and request an interpretation of the zoning boundary. The signed memorandum of the determination is up there. Per that memorandum, the entire property is considered to be rural 5 zoning. This is an image of the subdivision that's planned. That is going to be the lots in the lower right-hand portion of the screen there. The previous minor land divisions are also visible there on top and then off to the left of the screen. These are the agencies which commented on this proposal. Those are in the file, and staff will allow the commissioners to interpret those as they will. Although their agency and public comments are also in the file and were routed. On the screen are the standards that have to be looked at in the process of a subdivision. We'll go ahead and go through those standards now. So the application was routed to public agencies for review on July 15th, consistent with the general process for application revisions. The lots are consistent with the density and dimensional standards for the zoning. They're proposed to be 5 acres or greater. And as previously stated, the whole area is rural 5 per BOCC determination on 6/25/24. Because these lots are 5 acres or greater, they will need a sanitary restriction placed on them per Idaho Code Title 50, Chapter 13. There's a condition of approval for that recommended. As previously mentioned, Northern Lights, Spirit Lake Fire, West Bonner School District number 83 all serve the site. As far as marking easements, constraints, and reserved land areas, the application was deemed complete by staff and was stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. As far as the lot design standards go, they comply with county code. The depth to width ratio of the lots is all under the required ratios, and that spreadsheet is in the appendices in the staff report. As far as services and utilities, as previously stated, individual wells and septic are planned. Fire protection plan was submitted, and there is a condition of approval that this has to be finalized prior to final plat. As far as road name goes, this will be served by an extension of an existing road named Sawbuck Road. And road standards, the road has to be designed to meet the private road standards of BRCC Title 12 Appendix A. And the applicant has submitted a plan for that. All lots are proposed to have direct frontage and access via Sawbuck Road, so the project complies with legal access requirements. The site does not have a public road frontage requirement because everything is 5 acres or greater in this subdivision. Trails and parks section does not apply because an approved county trails plan does not exist in Bonner County. The site has been designed, or the project has been designed around natural hazards. As you saw, the site is mostly flat. Site contains limited areas with slope over 30% grade. The site is not located within a floodplain or a floodway. As far as the environmental standards go, in BCRC 12.7, the project has been reviewed to meet the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 7. The application form was completed appropriately. The application was deemed complete by staff. Plat was stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. As far as the contents of the plat, it was prepared by a licensed Idaho land surveyor. Subdivision name, grid, north arrow, vicinity map, all look okay. Boundary lines look all right. Abutting roads. The plat as submitted is missing the adjoining landowners and their addresses, which is a requirement of code. That has been required for final plat as a condition of approval. That's in the staff report. The location, dimensions, area of lots, the numbering of the lots, the location, dimensions, name of roads are all appear compliant. Application was deemed complete by staff. Plat is stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. The proposal does appear to have sufficient contours showing. Again, it was stamped by a licensed land surveyor. There are no locations of water bodies, floodplains that need to be mapped. There are no mapped water courses on the site. As far as existing wells, springs, wetland boundaries, drainage channels, utility lines, the plat was stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. The plat does give the planned method of water supplies, sewage, and solid waste disposal. Solid waste disposal is planned by either a county transfer station or private contractor. As far as more plat content requirements, including easements of record, the proposed indication of any public lots or public lands or lands for common use, as well as the statement of intended use. Proposal complies on all three of these. The application was deemed complete. Plat was stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. No lots are proposed to be reserved for public dedication or common use. The plat states that the proposed use of this subdivision will be residential. As far as road design and profile goes, again, the site is accessed via Sawbuck Road. Sawbuck Road was reconstructed in the summer of 2021 to have a 20-foot wide travelway. Anything missing on this has been added in the conditions of approval that we'll go over later. The application was filed in accord with code. We are holding public hearings in accord with code. The plat is valid. It was stamped by an Idaho licensed land surveyor. Requirements for an improvement plan. This is a part of the final plat, not the preliminary plat, and is not required at this stage. A couple more final plat contents and what endorsements have to be shown on the final plat, not applicable at this stage. The applicant for stormwater grading, stormwater management and erosion control, the applicant has submitted the stormwater and erosion control plan. It has been reviewed by Bonner County Road and Bridge. They've gone back and forth a couple of times. There is a condition of approval to ensure that the applicant has to meet all conditions listed by Bonner County Road and Bridge and any applications or any requirements that will be forthcoming from Bonner County Road and Bridge. And they have to do this prior to final plat. As for wildlife, no local, state, or federal agency has identified the presence of any critical wildlife habitat on the site. The site is mostly flat, but there is a condition of approval requiring a geotech if any development occurs on slopes steeper than 30%. As far as flood damage prevention goes, the site is not located within a floodplain or floodway, so that is not applicable. The staff report contains a detailed discussion of how this complies or does not conflict with the policies and the implementation component of the comprehensive plan consistent with code. As far as the proposed conditions of approval go, most of the conditions in here are standard. A few are unique to the application. Condition 1 is the standard sanitary restriction condition. There has to be a sanitary restriction on the final plat per Idaho Code Title 50, Chapter 13. Condition number 2 is another standard condition that all easements and reserved land areas have to be shown and plainly marked on the plat. Condition 3 is a standard. This is the standard fire protection plan condition. This will get added on in the same form for any subdivision that we were looking at. It gives them options and requirements for how to finalize their fire protection plan for the proposed subdivision. Condition 4 is a standard condition stating that we need a unique road name for each road. Condition 5 is also going to be a standard condition stating that your private road that's proposed here has to comply with the private road standards in code. And then stating that in the course of designing and finalizing this design, that the applicant has to comply with any requirements from Bonner County Road and Bridge.
Mr. Johnson, before you continue, just so I don't miss it, for the proposed conditions of approval number 5. I do think the item that we're missing with that at this time, based on the agency comment from Bonner County Road and Bridge, would be to include that any of those road and bridge conditions will be based on the trip generation report that needs to be provided by the applicant.
Yeah, that's a condition that we're gonna get to. That's not actually required by code, so it wasn't required. But that we're gonna get to that condition. The only things that require a trip gen are home occupation 1, 2, and 3, planned unit developments, and special use. Nothing else actually requires a trip gen in code. Let's see here. Condition 6 is a standard code that says you have to show on the plat anything reserved for public use. Number 7 is a condition that's unique to this. Not all owners are shown on their respective places, adjacent owners, and the plat needs to be amended to show that prior to final plat. Condition 8 is your standard expiration date, as well as the standard way that you would request an extension of that expiration date if you can't meet. Condition 9 is a standard condition for the improvement plan that will be required prior to final plat. This would be standard on any subdivision that got done. Condition 10 is your standard requirement for you can't start building your improvements until after your improvement plan is submitted and approved. Condition 11, in lieu of improvements, building the improvements yourself. Condition 11 allows for the bonding for improvements and outlines the details on how that bonding is supposed to be done. Condition 12 is standard. It simply restates that the final plat has to conform to the final plat portions of the code. Condition 13, stormwater management and erosion control plan has been submitted. This is a condition that states that the applicant has to fully satisfy the conditions from road and bridge prior to final plat with regard to their stormwater management and erosion control plan. Condition 14 is a standard condition for any subdivision that has steep slopes, stating that a geotechnical analysis is required per 12 BCRC 12-762. A geotech is required prior to any development on steep slopes. And then 15, as the commissioner previously mentioned, is Bonner County Road and Bridge has requested a trip gen report for this proposal, and the applicant shall prepare and submit for review a trip generation report prior to final plat. That concludes my presentation. Were there any questions?
Did you say number 11 was also a standard condition?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bonding. Yeah.
So I think I misunderstood what you said, Mr. Johnson, with regard to condition 15. So you have it listed as a condition of approval, but you said it's not required. I thought I heard, so I'm a little confused.
Well, as I was reviewing and I'm going through that table that we went through, every item, trip generation isn't on there, never got requested. We got feedback from Road and Bridge. They'd like a trip generation report. The county doesn't have the authority. I don't have the authority to require that myself. I don't have any code to back me up, but the commissioners have the authority to require it per Road and Bridge recommendation. This is why we forward stuff onto them so that they can catch stuff that our own code might miss. So yeah, adopt code condition 15, and we will get a trip generation report.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Additional questions? Anything else from staff at this time?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Turn it over to the applicant.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Jeremy Grimm, representing McGee One LLC for the Sawbuck Estates Second Edition subdivision. Whiskey Rock Planning Consulting, no affiliation with the city of Sandpoint. My comments or opinions. This is a pretty straightforward, standard subdivision on land that can be described as rural in nature. The subdivision is for a low density rural division of 9 lots on 45 acres in the Hoodoo Valley. Each lot exceeds the 5-acre minimum of the R5 zone. This has been thoughtfully designed to fit within the existing character of the surrounding area, which already includes the Sawbuck Estates First Edition and Sawbuck Forest Minor subdivisions. The lots are served by Sawbuck Road, a private road improvement to current standards has been developed with 22 feet of travelway and fresh resurfacing back in 2021. The legal access is well documented on the site with a recorded 60-foot easement in the preliminary plat. Topography is flat. There are some prime well yields in the area. Well-drained soils generally make the property ideal for development. From a planning perspective, the project advances multiple goals of the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. It provides much needed housing in response to population growth while preserving the rural character. It avoids sensitive environmental features and places no new burden on public infrastructure. All the lots are intended to be served by individual well and septic systems consistent with rural land use patterns. Staff has found the application complete and compliant with all applicable Bonner County Revised Code provisions. Other than the road and bridge question on trip generation and one public comment in opposition. It's generally aligned with the requirements and standards of Bonner County Code. When we look at the key findings, the plat does conform to Title 12 in terms of lot size, road access, utilities, environmental standards. Access for private roads are met as stipulated in code. Utilities, we've covered some of that. Individual well and septic as is traditional in the area. Environmental review, we don't have wetlands, floodplains, water courses, or critical habitat. As I mentioned, the majority of the land is flat with minimal slopes. We do have submitted erosion control and stormwater plans that have been reviewed. We're agreeable to the conditions of approval. In regards to the trip generation letter, I understand the curiosity behind the trip gen from the development or the proposed development. I guess the question is, what do you do with it then if you get it? Being fairly familiar with Bonner County standards, there's not a real precedent or clarification on how you would apply the results of that. We would certainly accommodate it if you feel it's critical for the final approval, but I guess the question then, it's kind of like pulling on a thread in a sweater. What do you do with it? How do you address whatever the findings may be, and how do you proportion that to this project? And I bring that up just because happy to answer questions about public comment as well about access, but we're really looking at the standards as they apply to the land and the rights of way and the standards within the platted area. And once we start going outside of the platted property, what I'll call downstream effects, Bonner County doesn't have obviously impact fees for things like roads and transportation. So you could quickly get yourself in a situation where you'd have to come up with a determination of proportional nexus, which is, when you have a pre-existing deficiency or a pre-existing challenge, which I'm not sure there is one, how do you determine what share of that is the responsibility of the applicant versus the county? And then how do you go about curing that? Obviously, you can't put an applicant in a situation where they have to negotiate and build a project. So that would then become a Bonner County question of negotiating and, designing and reformulating access points. So this isn't unique. You'll see this all across Bonner County where there are downstream properties, whatever the original creation, you may not have perfect access and easements all along the way. But those are sort of existing deficiencies that the county unfortunately owns to some degree. And I would just put in your mind, is there a compelling public interest? Is there a deficiency that's so great right now that it's compelling to repair that today versus, yeah, not ideal. It might not meet the textbook standard, but does it function? Does it work? Sure. In this case, we've got a wide enough travelway, no documentation of significant traffic concerns or accidents and things like that. So it's functioning, it's working. The downstream, oh, no, I'm sorry, the upstream access to the site, does it meet the letter of the law? No, but I would put forth that that's not any of the downstream property owners' responsibility to fix that former easement with or something like that. So with that, I'd certainly entertain any questions. I know my client, Jake Wimmer, he represents his company here. Would like to say a couple of things. Maybe we'll have Jake just give his perspective and then we'd take any questions. Jake, you want to?
Commissioners. Hello, Bonner County Commissioners and planning staff. My name is Jake Weimer, and my family and I own and operate JD Lumber Inc. Our family company is headquartered in Priest River, where I grew up. And 2025 will mark our 45th year doing business in the timber industry in Bonner County. We plan to be in business 45 years from now, if all goes well. Across the county, we have thousands of acres of timberland, hay meadows, and pasture land, and we take great pride in sustainably managing our properties. We create local jobs for foresters, ranchers, loggers, and mill workers, who are the heart of our rural economy. Our timberlands also provide positive benefits to our neighbors and people across the county, such as clean water, wildlife habitat, and open space. We do not get paid to provide these ecosystem services that everyone benefits from, but we are happy to do so as part of our company mission and as good stewards of the land. Some of our timberland ownership is not productive for growing trees, but is well suited to other land uses. The property under consideration today is one of those. The gravelly, well-drained soils are very good for development, but very poor for timber production. The property is flat, in the valley, with good road access, zoned R5, in an area that is already dominated by 5-acre parcels. For example, there are over 50 5-acre parcels within 1 mile of the property. If there is any property on our ownership, or frankly in the county, that makes sense for 5-acre lots, seems to me it'd be this one. I've spoken with the owners of the properties neighboring our parcel, and they're good with this proposed subdivision. In fact, the neighbors with 5-acre lots often ask me when the next lots will be created, since they have friends and family that are interested. The only concern the other neighbors to the south and east had was for me to flag the property lines so the boundaries were clear, which I did promptly. In conclusion, we've been very thoughtful on what properties make sense to develop or not within the county, and this one definitely makes sense. Particularly, we're not asking for any special variances or unusual terms to fit a square peg in a round hole, 5-acre development in R5 zoning. As per the staff report, the development meets all Bonner County requirements for the most stringent full subdivision method, including engineering stamps on the road and stormwater plan. The neighbors are either supportive or indifferent to the subdivision, and the zoning commission recommended approval at the first hearing. I think this subdivision makes sense, and thank you for your time.
Commissioners, any questions for you at this time before you open it up? Thank you.
With that, we'll move into public comment. Do we have anyone in favor of the project who would like to offer public comment? Are we able to see everyone who's online?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have anyone neutral to the project who would like to offer public comment? And do we have anyone opposed to the project who would like to offer public comment? Mrs. Martin? Or is that Mr. Martin whose hands up? Mr. Martin?
Wayne Martin, Bonner County resident. I would tend to say my comments are neutral, but I've had previous commissioners on boards that have said they're negative. I would like to find out what his Panhandle Health had to say or have input as to the property with private wells, septic going in. as I previously mentioned at many different hearings, I have a strong concern for the health and safety of people buying homes, especially when they're out in this area. They do not understand the safety issues, especially in relationship to fires. The homes that are in the back area, according to the map that I saw, are in a trapped location in case of an emergency, especially a fire, with only one way out of that area. Natural hazards. A fire is a natural hazard. And I'm not sure why that does not or is not included in natural hazards, especially in housing developments. I know at this point in time, it's a moot point, but it is something that needs to be brought up, and that is concerning low income or those that are serving this county that cannot afford the normal prices of homes in this county. And at some point in time, I would like the commissioners to look at having that put in there, that in developments, that there's a minimum number that are available to, especially those that serve this county, law enforcement, fire, medical. My last one is dealing with, this is phase 2, according to what I read. And I would like to know why in these areas, especially when they're out in rural areas, why the developments are not asked to have a playground or recreational activity area for families and friends to be able to come to and to entertain. I understand 5 acres. That is a considerable amount of property, depending upon how you develop it. But when you have people come out to reduce the amount of problems of youth because of inactivity or not being out, being able to play in a playground or a setting that is a positive environment for them, is a negative impact. And this county has seen that throughout with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment opposed to the project? Okay, with that, we'll close the public comment period and we'll go back to the applicant if they would like the rebuttal time.
So. Yeah, this is close, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jeremy Grimm for the record. Yeah, not much to rebut there. Certainly, we've got the question about the fire hazard, and I guess the response is we've met the applicable codes per Bonner County, per the standards, Title 12. So there was a fire out there relatively recently. I don't know the exact date, and folks were obviously able to accommodate and get that. We do have a fire clearing plan for the parcels that will be on the plat. A landscaping and fire clearing plan. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of material identified as deficiencies to rebut. So I'll leave with that or entertain any questions you might have.
Questions?
Where do you want? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will move into board deliberation.
I do have a question for planning. About this. I would like to address what was brought up by the appellants as far as what we would do with the data of the trip gen.
Yeah, planning doesn't have any standards
Right.
for how to evaluate a trip gen report. That would be Road and Bridge would be evaluating that. Planning has no standards.
Okay, so Road and Bridge would be doing something with that data.
Yes,
I'm assuming,
I assume.
but we don't know what. Okay.
So yeah, actually, we can discuss that in deliberation now if you want. So the request came forward during agency comment by the road and bridge engineer. And So my perspective is, as the subject matter experts, if they're requesting data, which is within their purview to request, then I think it behooves us to get the data, have that analyzed, let them come back with an opinion on what they think the impacts are to our county roads. And then if there is an impact, as was discussed by the applicant's representative, it's possible that there are upstream impacts, but until we know if there are and what the scope of that looks like and what the recommended mitigations would be, we have no way of knowing if or how we would approach those issues or assign, applicable portions of costs and things of that nature. But if we don't have the data, we don't know if we have a problem to solve. And so I think it's inappropriate for the county to move forward with development project approvals if we have requests from the subject matter experts saying, we think more data is appropriate and we'd like to analyze that. If we just move forward in ignorance, we don't know if we're creating problems. And so that's my perspective on that agency comment that we received and why I consider it to be a reasonable request.
So I have a question. Since our road bridge department made that comment, how come they're not here to speak about it?
I was about to ask, if you like, I can see if Mr. Mulder's available.
Sure.
I'll be right
Thank you.
back.
I don't like the fact that department or a person or whatever can hold up a decision.
It's not an abnormal request for that department, so I don't think that they necessarily saw that as being something that was extraordinary that required their additional approval, since there wasn't other feedback and comments that came back and forth through the agency request. With the emails that are in the record, I didn't see any questions being raised or, concerns raised, so.
They just had a request to do a trip generation.
They did. Would you like to move forward with the decision-making worksheet while we're waiting to see if Mr. Mulder's available? Sure. All right. So starting with Idaho Code 67-6511. To summarize, we need to confirm that the proposal is not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan. What say you on that?
I say I don't see that on my sheet. I see.
Oh, I'm sorry, I might have the wrong one. I do. My apologies.
I suggest possibly in the future go with paper.
Not like. Okay. Our decision-making worksheet for subdivisions, starting with, to your point, Bonner County Revised Code 12-268.
Okay,
Are we on the same page?
we are.
Awesome. So agency routing,
I find that as a yes.
okay, I do as well. I adopt the analysis found in the staff report. Bonner County Revised Code 12-411, minimum lot size requirements,
I found that as a yes as well.
as do I. I also adopt the analysis found in the staff report. 12-610.b. Minimum lot size requirements.
I found that to meet the criteria. So it's a yes.
And I agree. I'll also note, once again, I adopt the analysis found in the staff report. I want to state that it was clarified that the BOCC previously had determined that the parcels in question are zoned as rural 5, since technically they were shown on the map as a split zone. So that's part of that determination. And there are applicable conditions of approval. Should it be a motion to approve? 12-620.
I found
Easements
that
and
in compliance as well, sorry.
Okay, I can just read the numbers if you want at this
Yep.
point, since we're tracking the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Okay. I agree. I also adopt the analysis found in the staff report and note that there are applicable conditions of approval. 12-621.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree. Adopt the findings of the staff report and note that there are appendices describing that compliance. 12-623.
I found that to be in compliance as well.
I agree. Again, I adopt the conclusions of the staff report and note that there are applicable conditions of approval. 12-624A.
I found that to be in compliance.
I concur and accept the staff report and note that there are applicable conditions of approval. 12-624B,
I found that to be in compliance.
as do I, and accept the conclusions of the staff report. 12-624C,
Found that to be in compliance as well.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff. 12-624D,
Found that to be in compliance.
as did I. Accepting the conclusions of the staff report and noting that there are applicable conditions of approval. 12-625.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree with the staff report that's not applicable. And adopt the findings of the staff report. You're finding it in compliance due to the fact it's not applicable?
Yes.
I agree.
Since we're doing a yes and no thing.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unique when we have a non-applicable
Right.
condition.
Right.
12-626A.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the findings of the staff report. 12-626B.
I found that to be in compliance.
Concur. And also adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642A.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree. I adopt the conclusions of the staff report and note that there are applicable conditions of approval. Actually, I apologize, not in this case, or not. 12-642B.
Found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the findings of the staff report. 12-642B1.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642B2.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. That there's some additional information that needs to be provided regarding adjoining owners. And so there's an applicable condition of approval. So I guess the way to clarify that would be it can be in compliance based on the condition. 12-642B, I'm sorry, do you agree with that approach? 12-642B3.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt staff's conclusions. 12-642B4,
I found that to be in compliance.
as did I adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642.B5,
I found that to be in compliance.
as do I adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642B6,
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 B7.
Found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 B8.
Found that to be in compliance.
Also agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 B9.
I found that to be in compliance.
Concur and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 B10.
I found that to be in compliance.
Concur and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 B11.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-642 C2.
I found that to be in compliance with the conditions of approval.
I concur and adopt the conclusions of the staff. 12-643 A.
I found that to be in compliance.
I concur and adopt the conclusions of the staff report. 12-643 B.
Found that to be in compliance.
Concur and adopt the conclusions of the staff. 12-643 1.
Or, point one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a 1 or an I actually.
We'll call it. You concur.
Just gonna check.
H.
It's 1 or I, so either way, we're
I believe that is in compliance along with the conditions of approval.
I concur and accept the conclusions of the staff. 12-644.
I found that to be in compliance along with the conditions of approval.
Agree that this is not applicable until the final plat. So I accept that conclusion of the staff report. 12-645.
I found that to be in compliance.
Concur and accept the conclusions of the staff report. 12-646.
I found that to be in compliance along with the conditions of approval.
I agree as it's not applicable at this stage of the project as per the conclusion of the staff. 12-647.
This is not applicable either, so I found that it is in compliance with the conditions of approval.
I concur. 12-7.2.
I found that in compliance along with the conditions of approval.
I agree and accept the findings of the staff report. 12-7.4.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and accept the findings of the staff report. 12-7.6.
I found that to be in compliance along with the conditions of approval.
I agree and accept the conclusions of the staff report. And Title 14.
I found that to be in compliance.
I agree and accept the conclusions of the staff report. Moving into 12-643 G, comprehensive plan analysis. First, we have property rights.
I found that not to be in conflict. It's consistent with the protected property rights in our comp plan and adopt the staff report.
I agree. Population.
I found that not to be in conflict. We have a housing shortage and this site provides a great location with low impact.
I agree and accept the conclusions of the staff report. School facilities and transportation.
I found that to be not in conflict.
I agree and accept the conclusions of the staff report. Economic development.
I found that to not be in conflict as well.
I also agree and accept the conclusions of the staff report. Land use.
Land use I found not to be in conflict.
I agree. I think this proposal is consistent with the requirements of the rural residential land use designation assigned to these parcels, and I accept the conclusions of the staff. Natural resources.
I found it to be not in conflict as well.
I also agree and accept the conclusions of staff. Hazardous areas.
Hazardous areas I found not to be in conflict.
I agree, and a concern was noted in public comment. I understand and agree with being thoughtful about that. As I look at the policies where it talks about the county's wildland fire, urban wildland interface policies. There is a fire mitigation plan and conditions of approval to address that. And there was no comment offered by the applicable fire district indicating any concerns or additional requirements from the fire safety perspective. So I find it is not. Public services, facilities and utilities.
I found that to not be in conflict of this low density.
I agree it's not in conflict and accept the conclusions of the staff report. Transportation.
I found that not to be in conflict as it's a private road up to road standards that connect to a county road system.
I agree. I accept the conclusions of the staff report. I know we had a public comment that was written that expressed some concern over access easements, but I did not find any information in the record that supported that concern. So based on the evidence in the record, I cannot find it to be in conflict. Recreation.
Recreation I found not to be in conflict as there's no recreational items in the area. And we should not force citizens to build such things.
I agree, it's not in conflict with the policies. And I do accept the conclusions of the staff report. I think there are aspects of the policy to talk about, the promotion of things like green belts and pathways and things of that nature, but as was noted by staff, because we don't have a specific policy or plan in place for that, we don't have something to be tied into, so I don't see where that would be applicable. So that's why I find it's not in common. Special areas or sites.
I found that not to be in conflict as there are no special areas or sites as determined by the Historical Society.
I agree it's not in conflict and accept the conclusions of the staff report. Housing.
Housing I found not to be in conflict as this is a low density, low impact application.
And I also found to not be in conflict based on those policies 1 through 5. I don't find that the policies are particularly specifically applicable to this particular proposal. But I don't find any conflict. Community design.
I found that not to be in conflict as it's surrounded by lake parcels.
And I agree it's not in conflict. I do agree that policy 1, where it's talking about preserving natural features in the rural atmosphere, because it's zoned R5 and because agricultural pursuits and other rural activities are supported by the R5 zone. I find that it's in conformance with community design policies and therefore not in conflict. And I accept the conclusions of the staff report. Agriculture.
I found that not to be in conflict as it is not in an agricultural zone. That being said, 5 acres are sufficient for small scale farming and ranching, as we all know.
And I also agree that it's not in conflict. And again, since the rural 5 zone, allows for and supports agricultural uses. I think it's consistent. And then we have conflicting evidence in the record. Did you find any conflicting evidence?
I did not.
I did not find conflicting evidence either. Just concerns raised, but I didn't find any evidence in the record to substantiate or create conflicting considerations. Director, was Mr. Mulder available? Oh, there he is. Didn't even see you walk in. I'm so focused. Would like to have Mr. Mulder speak to his request. Sure. Mr. Mulder, if you please, the board is wondering about the Road and Bridge Department's request for a chip generation report for this particular subdivision proposal. So if you could help explain the rationale behind what that data would be used for and why it's requested, we'd appreciate that.
Okay. So this is the Bonner County Road Standards Manual, and I'll just read a couple of lines here from it. Section 9 is all about traffic impact study guidelines. And it says an applicant wishing to pursue a land use action within Bonner County shall first submit the trip generation and distribution letter to the county for review. The Road and Bridge Department will use this letter to help determine whether a traffic impact study should be required for the proposed land use action / project. This trip generation letter shall be required of all applicants wishing to pursue land use actions within Bonner County. This includes actions for both new and redevelopment land use actions. The purpose of the trip generation and distribution letter is intended to help the Road and Bridge Department determine whether a traffic impact study will be required for the development. The letter should be submitted shortly following pre-application discussion / interviews as to provide the applicant sufficient time to develop a traffic impact study if required by the Road and Bridge Department prior to project approval. And it goes on all the information that should be included in that trip generation letters. That's kind of the gist of it. We use this to determine what impacts might this amount of traffic be having, what are their peak hour impacts for the AM and the PM, how many cars per day are they going to be generating out of here, and do we want to make them go further full traffic impact study? Might we want to make them pave a road if we're adding a certain amount of traffic onto a gravel road, and things of that nature that we might take into consideration. There you go.
Any questions, Commissioner?
It raises a lot of concerns to me. Because it doesn't sound like Road and Bridge or our county codes have any definitive answers as far as how many parcels are required before we start are requiring to pave roads or anything else. So then it comes into personal opinion. I think this road should be paved, or I don't believe this road should be paved. Is that true?
We do have guidelines within the road standards manual about what quantity of traffic does the road justify being paved. It's 500 cars a day is what it says in here for that. Certainly, we have a lot of gravel roads with more cars per day than that already that have not afforded to be paved. We have required some development to pave roads within the county when they're adding a significant amount of new traffic onto Providence subdivision. One example, Cedar Park being another one that paved neighborhood roads. We try not to just let that be subjective, but certainly there is some subjectivity to it.
So did you take a look at this proposal and see how many parcels there are on this road and that we would be adding 9 more?
Yeah, and I don't think that the 9 more is going to be such a huge amount of traffic that by itself we would want to make them pave Kelso Lake Road all the way out to the highway or something. It's probably not justified, but it's part of the process. The trip generation letter gives us something a little bit more firm to stand on as we're looking at that and trying to justify who we want to make them something more. But ultimately, any condition like that, paving or other road improvements, fall to the board to make a condition of approval if they think it's prudent. We would just make recommendations. Also, Lake Road is, no, thank you. If Kelso Lake Road is already got so much traffic that it's impossible to keep it in good condition and a gravel road, then, you know, how many more subdivisions do we allow before we want to start looking at paving that? There's not a hard line where you add one more car and now it needs it. It's just a scale of gray. The more traffic you add, the greater the need becomes and harder it is to keep that road in good condition.
So I'm not trying to grill you or anything, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this request, because in previous requests, I haven't noticed that a trip generation has been required too many times. I've seen it before, but not like a continuous basis. Is this something that's going to happen going forward on these types of requests?
It seems like in my memory, most subdivision applications already include one. And so it's not something I asked for. They have just submitted that with their application documents, and I've looked at it as part of my overall review, but this one didn't have that, stood out to me, and it's an important part, so I
So
made mention of it.
question for the board and for planning, is this something that we need to put on our applications? So that we don't run into this issue that could hold up a decision or something, because it hasn't been done, but it hasn't been requested. Or required. Are you following me?
I am, and we can ask planning. I don't know what the communication process is through the application that normally triggers getting that, but I know in my limited time on the board thus far, I have seen with our other subdivision applications that a trip generation layer has been included. So I don't know what triggered them providing that, whereas this application didn't include.
Right, that's what I'm trying to get to is why is this one
So we can ask,
different?
the planning department what the normal process looks like as far as how and why your chip, commonly provided with applications. Director, could you please,
Thanks, Matt.
talk to us about the process?
Yeah, as Mr. Johnson mentioned, like we follow the chapter 6 requirements for what's needed for inclusion in any land use action. So in this case, typically they get presented because Road and Bridge usually asks for those. In this case, it's not required per the application, and so it wasn't submitted by the applicant. So if that change is required or requested by the board, we can modify chapter 6 to include that for subdivision files.
So if I'm understanding correctly, there's a little bit of a disconnect between what we have in chapter 6 for subdivision requirements on the planning side versus what we have for our road and bridge requirements. And then typically agency comments submitted by Road and Bridge generate the request, which is what ultimately leads to the trip generation letter being provided in the application. Okay, and then in this case, Road and Bridge did actually make that request through the agency comment process, but for whatever reason, timing or otherwise, communication, it didn't end up being submitted prior to this preliminary plat coming to us.
So to try and rectify that issue, I would suggest putting that on the application or something to where it sounds like this is gonna be a request from Road and Bridge going forward on most or all subdivisions. So why doesn't the applicant know that up front so that can be taken care of?
Yeah, so I think we can, as we're looking at Title 12, Title 12 amendments, the board can request to make a change to clarify and create that coordination between the requirements and what are otherwise normally thought of as planning requirements. Thank you. Any additional questions?
That's all for the bridge. Thank you, Mr. Moulton. Good luck, gentlemen.
So is there any additional deliberation that you'd like to go over?
I don't think I have any.
My only other comment would be based on the public comment that was received during the hearing. I understand and appreciate that, again, thinking about safe access, fire safety, community design concepts when it comes to any type of plan development. I can see and understand where those are thoughtful comments to consider, but right now we need to work with what's in the code. What requirements are applicable to this particular proposal. And based on the information that we have in the record, I do believe that the items that are required for those access and safety items are addressed within the proposal and contingent upon the conditions of approval. So based on that aspect, I am inclined to move forward with approval of the preliminary plat. With the conditions of approval as presented by staff in this hearing, which included conditions 1 through 15. And if you are also moving in that direction and want to make a motion, I would suggest that when the motion is made, that it also be stated in the motion that in addition to the conclusions of law, that the approval is based on the conditions of approval as presented. Okay, so I don't see that noted in the proposed motion. Okay, so this is helpful. This is my suggestion. To add it in there would be to add it. Is this removed, or is that it? So the blue is what I have it. So between the word code and as. If we added that, then we'd be pulling the conditions of approval into the motion to approve. And I don't know if the planning director or any other planning staff, if there's something I'm missing, I've noticed this before with some of the draft motion to approve. I don't see where it ties in and pulls in conditions of approval in motion. And so I'm trying to be sure that that's actually within the motion. See the conclusions of law, but I don't see the conditions of approval.
It should be in there, so please add it, and we'll make sure we get that amended in future ones.
If I'm wrong, I'm happy to have it pointed out, just don't see it.
I don't have it in front of me to take a look at.
No, that's correct. Adding in. So what it says now is I further move to adopt the reason statement as discussed in the deliberation of this hearing. The analysis is set forth in the staff report and as amended at this hearing. And as amended during this hearing, including the conditions of approval presented at this hearing. Add in that language and direct planning staff to draft the reason statement.
Yeah. And I'm being told that your guys' microphones are not, I don't know if they're not working or not, or
Okay.
if we need to swap them out, I'd be happy to. But that you guys are being hard to hear. Yeah, I know these ones, you have to get it close to you, so.
So it's not working on. And we want to rehold these conclusions also into the record, or is that necessary?
I believe we just adopt them as they were presented.
As written, or as presented in the staff report for those as far.
Okay,
Unless
So-
there's a change.
the conclusions have to be read, yes.
Yeah, but not the conditions of approval.
Right, conditions don't.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, could you say again where I'm not seeing it for some reason?
So in the last paragraph, motion by the governing body, last paragraph, on page of the staff report. I further move to adopt the reason statement as discussed in the deliberation of this hearing and the analysis and conditions of approval as set forth.
Oh, you're suggesting, okay, I thought you were pointing out that it was in there and I wasn't seeing.
Oh,
it,
no, it's
so-
not. It's
Okay.
And the analysis and the conditions of approval as set forth in the staff. Maybe just add it after the phrase and the analysis there. And the analysis and the conditions of approval as set forth during this hearing.
Okay, and I I see what you're suggesting with you, and I'm actually thinking it might be better in the opening paragraph. Because. From my perspective, if we're gonna have a motion that says that we're finding this in accord, it is in accord with the Bonner County Revised Code. Some of the accord is based upon conditions of approval. And I think ultimately it ends up saying the same thing, but structurally, I prefer to say that we're. The reason we can find that it's in accord is partly conditioned upon. Those conditions of approval. Does that make sense?
Whichever way we wanna go. We deliberating? Just
Well,
ask.
yes, we are.
Hey, Bill.
We are. Yeah, we can ask Bill for an opinion on that. If, I don't know if it'll make a difference. I want to be sure we have it captured. And I think the way the staff has suggested it, captures it. And then the way I was suggesting it just puts it on the front end. And probably
Read this thing twice.
because the file, yeah, because the final paragraph says it says this is based upon, so I think we capture it either way.
Okay,
So,
well, I just do both. It'll be captured.
let's just do it once, please.
Will you entertain a motion?
I would love to hear a motion.
All right. I recommend approval of this project to the Board of Commissioners, file number S0003-24, Sawbuck Estates Second Edition, requesting the creation of 9 residential lots of approximately 5 acres each on 2 parcels, approximately 45 acres accumulative, zoned rural 5 and located in section 16, township 57 north, range 2 west, Boise Meridian, Bonner County, Idaho, finding that it is in accord with the Bonner County Revised Code as enumerated in the following conclusions of law and based on the conclusions, conditions of approval. Conclusion 1, the proposed subdivision is in accord with the purpose of Title 12 and the Rural 5 zoning district. Conclusion 2, the site is physically suitable for the proposed development. Conclusion 3, the design of the proposed subdivision will not adversely impact Bonner County's natural resources as identified in the comprehensive plan. Any adverse impacts or potential for impact shall be mitigated as a condition of approval. Conclusion 4, public and private services, including but not limited to water, sewer services, solid waste, fire protection, emergency services, and school facilities and transportation will serve the proposed subdivision are adequate for the needs of future residents or users. Conclusion 5, the proposed subdivision will not cause circumstances to exist that will cause future residents or the public at large to be exposed to hazards to health or safety. Conclusion 6, the design of the proposed subdivision or related improvements will provide for coordinated access with the county system of roads and with adjacent properties and will not impede the use of public easements for access to or through the proposed subdivision. The proposed transportation system is designed to adequately and safely serve the future residents or users without adversely impacting the existing transportation system by reducing the quality or level of service or creating hazards or congestion. Conclusion 7, the proposed subdivision is designed to comply with the design criteria for subdivision set forth in subchapter 6.2 of this chapter. Conclusion 8, the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies of Bonner County Comprehensive. The recommendation is based upon the evidence submitted up to the time the staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing. I further move to adopt the reasoned statement as discussed in deliberation at this hearing and the analysis and the conditions of approval set forth in the staff report or as amended during this hearing and direct planning staff to draft the reasoned statement to reflect this motion as set forth in Idaho Code section 67-6535. Have the chair sign and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in the taking of private property.
Step down in seconds. Any further deliberation on bullet five? None. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyle,
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes the hearing for file S 003-24. Next, we will hear file ZC 0002-25, zone change, rural 5 to suburban.
That's good. Now get everybody through, okay?
Good. Probably take one for sure after this. Okay, you gotta keep your.
I need to.
Staff ready?
I am ready, Commissioner.
All right, great. Please proceed with your staff report. I'm sorry, before we do that, I forgot to call for conflict of interest. Does the board have any conflict of interest?
Commissioner Corn has no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Donkey has no conflict of interest. And do we have, it's all the same hearing, but just be sure, does anybody need any assistance with hearing or otherwise? Okay, staff, please proceed.
Commissioner, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Daniel Britt, planning staff for the record. We're here to discuss zone change 0002-25 from rural 5 to suburban. These are applicable standards for which this file was reviewed against that are found in the staff report. The applicants are proposing a zone change from rural 5 to suburban to align the zoning with the adjacent parcels and the comprehensive plan designation transition. The parcels are located off Kokolala Loop on Hatchet Road. Parcels are 5 acres and 6.56 acres in size, and the current comprehensive plan designation is transition. So background on these two parcels, one has a single family dwelling and the other one has an existing auto repair business. They're both unplatted. Sizes respectively are 5 acres and 6.56 acres. Current zoning is rural 5 and the land use designation is transition. The parcels are accessed on Hatchet Road, a privately owned and maintained gravel road via Kokolala Loop, a Bonner County owned and maintained paved public right of way. So environmental factors that are found on these parcels, they both do contain map slopes from 0 to 30% or greater grade. The parcels do not contain any map wetlands and the parcels do not contain any map waterfronts or streams. Is currently within special flood hazard zone X. Services that are available to these parcels are individual wells, individual septic systems. Fire protection is through Sagal or Selkirk Fire District. Power is Avista Utilities and is within Lake Ponderay School District number 84. So it has a couple different soil types on it. The one in the green is treble gravel sandy loam of 5 to 20% slope. It is well drained and is considered prime farmland. In the brown, we have Bonner gravelly ash silt loam, 0 to 4% slope. It's well drained and is also considered prime farmland. The current classification is transition, and this is reserved for those areas of the county where a mixture of land uses can occur, which may include higher density residential uses, commercial, industrial, and light industrial uses. Due to the intensity of land uses,
These are, these areas require primary transportation routes, urban like water and sewer services, fire and police services. So the rural district is established to allow for low density residential uses that are compatible with rural pursuits. The purpose can be accomplished by one, limited residential density and permitted uses to those that are compatible with the rural character and nearby resource production districts. And sites can be adequately supported by rural service levels, allowing for small scale farming, forestry activities, and tourism and recreation uses that can be supported by rural service levels, and are compatible with rural character. 3, encourage conservation development configuration that create permanent open space or farming areas, protect sensitive environmental features, reduce infrastructure costs, and or enhance recreational opportunities. Currently, the property is rural 5. This is an area's rural designated rural residential in the comprehensive plan that are already developed at or near the one dwelling per 5 acre density and do not meet the criteria for R10. The suburban district, Part B, use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated by the comprehensive plan as transition, urban growth area, resort community, or suburban growth area in the comprehensive plan where a network of hard surface roads provide good access to primary transportation routes or potential public transportation systems. Urban services may not be available immediately, but are capable of being extended or constructed in this area. So this is looking at the rural 5 and the suburban and the requirements side by side, and we'll go over those in detail, each of those bullet points. So the first one is developed at or near the one dwelling for 5 acres. So according to Bonner County Revised Code 12-3232, rural 5 in areas designated rural residential in the comprehensive plan that are already developed at or near the one dwelling per 5 acre density and do not meet the criteria for the rural 10. In December 2008, the rural district was established in Bonner County under the current code. Both property classifications were indicated within this district, rural 10 and rural 5. A determination was made in 2008 that these properties met the criteria for the rural 5 classification. The transition designation was assigned to these properties in 2005. The designation by the comprehensive plan. The proposal currently has a comprehensive plan designation of transition. This designation is reserved for those areas in the county where a mixture of land uses can occur, which may include higher density residential uses, commercial, industrial, and light industrial uses. Due to the intensity of the land, these areas require primary transportation routes, urban-like water and sewer services, fire and police services. The current zoning assigned to these parcels do not align with the comprehensive designation on these properties. So served by a network of hard surface roads. The proposal is within a network of hard surface right-of-ways. Highway 95 is a state-owned, Idaho state-owned and maintained paved right-of-way that is approximately a half a mile away. Cocoa Loop Road is a Bonner County owned and maintained paved right-of-way that is approximately 0.15 miles away. And Hatcher Road is a privately owned and maintained gravel right-of-way. So urban service capabilities. This area of the county has most quote unquote urban services as defined by Bonner County Revised Code 12-821. However, the general area lacks a publicly maintained water distribution system or sewage collection. BCRC 12-324B recognizes when any of the urban services are not immediately available but are capable of being extended or constructed in the area, that suburban zoning may be appropriate. Each parcel in this proposal has an individual well and septic system. Proposal is served by public electricity, a telephone system, and has access to hard surface roads. So the definition of urban services for Bonner County Revised Code 12-821 is a publicly or privately maintained water supply and distribution system, sewage collection, treatment, and disposal systems. Do not include individual septic tanks or drain fields or community septic tanks and drain field systems unless subject to an approved sewer management agreement. Electrical power and telephone utilities and hard surface road constructed to the standards set forth in Title II of this code. So a variety of housing types and densities. A variety of housing types can be identified within a quarter mile of the proposal that align with Bonner County Revised Code 12-332, Table 3-2, residential use table, such as single-family dwellings, multifamily, RV dwelling units, and vacation rentals. A variety of densities can be identified within a quarter mile that meet the standards of Bonner County Revised Code 12-411, which is Table 4-1, and BCRC 12-412, Table 4-2, density and dimensional standard tables. Most lots or parcels are developed with at least one dwelling unit. Lots and parcels range in size from 0.01 to 31 acres in size in this area. Allowing those accessory and complementary non-residential uses that are compatible with urban residential communities. Uses that are complementary to the existing housing in the area and service stations, restaurants, storage facilities, RV parks, recreational activities and businesses, a post office, and one of Bonner County's largest employers. This use can be found in BCRC 12-330, subchapter 3.3, in the use provision tables and sequence. The code encourages conservation development. Though the Bonner County Revised Code does not require the creation of conservation development in any district, the code encourages conservation developments in all zoning districts. For those developments in the county, BCRC 12-630, conservation subdivisions, guides property owners on how to develop conservation subdivisions. Conservation subdivisions encourage clustering to help reduce infrastructure costs and dedicate open space. There's a list of agencies that were routed found in the staff report in Appendix A. The following agencies did respond with comment: Idaho Department of Transportation, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Northern Lights, Panhandle Health District. All the other agencies that were notified did not respond. At the time the staff report was prepared, no public comments were received. The zoning commission unanimously recommended approval on this proposal. That concludes my presentations, commissioners, and take any questions you might have.
Did you say that it's served by a road that's hard service? Is that road?
Hatcher Road is a gravel.
Route?
Right.
I don't have any at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll turn it over to the applicant for their presentation. The applicant's representative. You're welcome to use the podium if you'd like.
Okay. Just wanted to, Dan Provolt, project representative, hear my voice. I just wanted to, these are just copies off the GIS right off the website. We have labeled out, there's where our project is. And I just wanted to put some extra information that doesn't readily show up on the big screen. So I'm just going to read off part of our zone change application narrative, and then I'm going to highlight some of the points made on the staff report itself. So we're seeking a zone change for the two parcels located in Coquilala, Idaho, just off of the Coquilala Loop Road. So Hatcher Road empties out directly into the hard surfaced Coquilala Loop Road, which of course runs both ways. And off to the east is Highway 95, also paved. We're looking at the comprehensive plan currently is transitional. We have a large square block in there, and you can see we're kind of right in the middle of it. We can also see that there are various zones wrapped around our area there. We have We are adjoining existing suburban zone. And just to the south, inside the same neighborhood there, we have rural service center. We have the railroad tracks on the east side. Part of the blue there runs right up the R5 zoning runs up the railroad track. We have encoder products in the industrial zone just to the east there. We have commercial zone to the east. We have rural service center, quite a bit of that in there. So it's quite a mix. It's a mix in sizes, and it's also a mix in uses, a mix in different zones. So the transitional comp plan allows for that. That's what we're looking for inside of there. The area we're talking about has been owned by the Hatcher family for roughly 60 or 70 years, and most of the residents in the picture there on Hatcher Road are Hatchers. So what we're looking to do, of course, is change a couple of adjoining R5s into suburban zone. We are going to be following up on this zone change, although not required at this point, but our end project is sometimes it's like nice to see where are we headed with this. Our next step is a planned unit development. We're going to work on some lot line adjustments and some road issues that are in there. It is a gravel road, but it has direct access onto the pavement. We're going to be looking at those issues, and of course, a couple of other things. As far as densities go, you can see on the chart there, I wrote some different sizes. We are right up against 2.5, something like 2.3. Couple of 2.5s. There's another one to the south in that next zone. There are, of course, 5s around there, but the big deal, what I'm looking at is the transition zone on the comp plan. R5s do not fit in the transition comp plan zone. Why the county did that back in 08 after making a transitional zone in 05, it was obvious that there it was, Plainview, wrong idea. It's still in the transitional zone, and we're trying to not only make it better for the Hatchers, but we're also trying to make it fit the transition or the comp plan. Right now, it does not fit the comp plan. R5 does not fit. One of the big things that the suburban zone requires is urban services. One of the big things there, we have the urban services, we have the fire and the roads and the school system and so forth. And the big point we need to make here is the sewer and water systems. There's no public sewer and water in that area. However, there are community water and sewer services out there. Our project has wells, private wells. A couple of them are shared. It's family in there. We have a home to the south end of the 5 on the west side there. We have a home to the north end, father and son, that we'd like to be able to separate those out. But right now that's a shared well. They have their own individual septic systems. Individual septic systems and individual wells can be taken down to a 2.5 acre parcel without any complications. So I'd like to read in here in addition, the code defines urban services as publicly or privately maintained water supply and distribution systems, sewage collection, treatment, and disposal systems. In parentheses, not to include individual septic tanks and drain field systems or community septic tanks and drain field systems, unless subject to an approved sewer management agreement. So we can take what we have, add a sewer maintenance agreement, of course, an approved one. All the people in there, all the Hatchers in there have agreed to sign a document, work up a maintenance agreement and get it recorded, approved and recorded. And so that would be a maintenance thing that then now brings that into urban service rather than separate systems. Add the maintenance per the code, it becomes an urban service. BCRC 12-324 in the suburban district. The suburban district is established to promote the development of residential uses, which is what we're after here, which is what we have on the edges of incorporated cities or other developed communities or areas, which is we're looking at Westman and the Coquilala area there that provides for that, where urban sewer and water services are either available or have the potential to become available in the near future. So it doesn't have to be there right now in order to approve this requested zone change, because it allows us for being available or have the potential to become available in the future. And so as I explained, we're looking to do a maintenance agreement on the systems that are there as provided by the code itself. So again, the urban services, water, sewer, fire, power, and school district. And again, the water and sewer can become a full-blown urban service with maintenance agreement, even as a private system. We're completely wrapped in all directions, transitional. So on the R5, we're doing some comparisons here in the staff report. R5 versus suburban district. I'd like to point out that the R5 in areas designated rural residential for the comp plan. So we're looking at an R5 that already starts out as it is R5 in areas designated rural residential in the comp plan. It is not designated R5 in the comprehensive plan. So right away we start, no, it doesn't meet the rural 5. Suburban, our target zone designated transition for the comp plan. It's exactly where we are. It fits the suburban zone. It fits what we're trying to target. Served by a network of hard service roads. As covered in the staff report, we're looking at Coquilala Loop Road and the highway. Variety housing types and densities. We have that. Allowing those accessory and complementary non-residential uses are compatible. We have on the one south end, we have an auto repair shop, been out there for many years. Again, in the staff report, suburban zone designation by the comp plan. This proposal currently has a comprehensive plan designation of transition. This designation is reserved for areas of the county where a mixture of land uses can occur, which include higher density residential uses, commercial, industrial, and light industrial uses. Due to the intensity of the land use, these areas require primary transportation routes, urban like water and sewer services, fire and police services. The current zoning assigned to these parcels do not align with the comprehensive designation plan on these properties. Existing comprehensive plan designation transition The transition classification is reserved for those areas of the county where a mixture of land uses can occur. And may include higher density. I know I just read this, but I wanted to point out around that particular area with the rural resident or the rural service centers and the industrial and commercial, there's 2 or 3 commercial parcels in there also in brown that we can see that. It has quite a mix. It fits well. R5 does not. I can beat on it a little bit more, but I think I've got all my points out. So if there's any questions, I can answer. That'd be good.
Any questions, Commissioner? I don't have, thanks. I don't have any either at this time. Thank you. We'll open it up to public comment. Do we have anyone in favor of the proposal who would like to comment? I just want to confirm we can see everyone who's online right now.
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have anyone neutral to the proposal who would like to comment? And do we have anyone opposed to the proposal who would like to comment? All right, seeing no public comment, we're going to close the public comment period and move into board deliberation. Is there anything you'd like to talk about before we start on the worksheet?
I don't think so. I don't see anything that I need to deliberate on, yes.
I think we can primarily do it through the worksheet, but I guess to set the high level that I see that I wanted to just bring out is I find this one challenging because I agree that current R5 zoning is not consistent with the comprehensive plan designation. And so we're kind of starting out with an anomaly. I don't like that anomaly. But I also feel that we have to be compelled with the proposed change to the new zone, the suburban, that it meets the requirements to make a change. And I see some things in there that I'm struggling to be able to check the boxes on. 2 things in particular. One is the network of hard surface roads, since Hatcher Road is gravel. And that would become the primary access route to the county and state roads. And so I'm struggling with that piece.
I had a concern about that too, since we're deliberating.
Yeah.
But evidently there's other properties on that same road that have the suburban zone.
There are, and I agree, and I looked at that too. And if you look at, the current zoning map, right, we do have this interesting combination off of that gravel road. What I don't want to do is I don't want to perpetuate something that may have been done inappropriately in the past, because I don't know when those zone designations were created for those other parcels to be suburban. But I don't know how they could have found that it was compliant with the hard surface requirement. And we were potentially going to more than double the amount of traffic on that roadway by making this change. And so the fact that it doesn't meet that portion, I find a little bit concerning. The other piece that I find probably more concerning is the requirement for suburban district that says it's established to promote the development of residential uses located on the edges of the incorporated cities. It's not. Or other developed communities. We could call this a developed community area potentially. Where urban sewer and water services are either available or have the potential to become available in the near future by reason of their inclusion in service districts. There are no service districts in the area. City service areas. There is no city service area here. Or adjacent to those areas or areas of city impact. So we're not adjacent to a city. And we don't have an existing water or sewer service district anywhere in this area. You have to go all the way up to say to get to the nearest one that I can see on. So it's it's problematic to me that I can't say that it's served by a network of hard surface roads due to Hatch Road being gravel. And it meets the urban service requirements for water and sewer. I don't see how we can say that something's gonna occur in the near future that we don't have any existing item to tie into. I understand what was presented by the applicant's representative that if this was already suburban zoned and then we had a subdivision proposal in front of us, that it may be possible that DEQ and or PhD would sign off on some other system. But right now, the question is, can we meet the criteria for the suburban zone? And that's where, again, I feel like this one's kind of on the knife's edge of,
It is.
it shouldn't have been R5 to begin with based on the land use designation,
Right.
but it is R5 right now. And for me to agree to change it to something else, I have to show that it meets the criteria for whatever that other thing is. So
And
That's
that's
where
where
I'm-
weird situation because it doesn't meet the criteria of either one.
exactly.
Sort.
And we don't get to say, well, we pick option C. I mean, that's not on the table, so it's one or the other. And so because of that, I'm struggling a little bit with that issue.
So for me on the road issue, I had the same concern.
Yeah,
And looking at it, a little differently. So what the request is here is to be rezoned. Right?
yeah.
But not necessarily, subdivided or anything like that.
Well, we were told by the applicant that they're intending to do that.
Okay, in the subdivision process, his condition of use could be to pave that road.
It could, so there could be future conditions, but we can't make conditions based on this decision.
Right. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
eliminate if I can.
Right.
And this Hatcher Road this
Yeah.
is on is 15 1500ths of a mile.
Yeah,
Which
it's
isn't very long, so if the applicant was serious about subdividing that, I would think that would be something that would be obtainable. Financially for the person, it's not a 3 mile long road. So I can get over that one. Versus that the R5 is not be in a transition. So to me, it's like, well, I can lean more towards that one. The other one, I'm having maybe a harder time with the urban services capability. So I'm reading here, says BR or BCRC code 12-324B recognizes when any of the urban services are not immediately available, but are capable of being extended or constructed in the area. Then suburban zoning may be appropriate. Says each parcel in this proposal has an individual well and septic system. But that doesn't meet the criteria of the urban services, and something would have to be constructed. There again, I think it was mentioned that they were the family members or the adjoining parcel owners were willing to enter into some type of a maintenance agreement. But the system doesn't exist.
And DEQ or PhD would have to approve such a system to create, managed multi-user system.
Right. And again, I guess I'm okay with that because I think that would be addressed at the subdivision time. So.
And I
It
hear,
is
yeah,
a hard.
I hear what
it's a
you're
hard
saying.
Call.
And for me, that's where, if this was a subdivision application, we
Right.
could make conditions of approval, I'd say
Yes.
that could all be addressed through conditions of approval, but because it's
Yes.
not, because it's a zone change. I don't have any way to be guaranteed that those things will be addressed. And I can't say that it meets those requirements today, so that's where I'm stuck. And if I can't say that it meets the requirements to change to a different zone, even though it doesn't fully make sense as currently zoned,
No,
I feel that I have to be able to have a clear rationale to justify making a change. And I don't see that I have that because of those two boxes I can't currently check on the hard surface roadways and the urban services with the water and sewer. So that's where I'm struggling, and that's why I don't like the fact that it doesn't fully and properly fit the current R5 zone designation. But like I said, I feel I need to be compelled that it meets all the requirements to change it to the suburban. And I'm not finding that right now. So I don't know if you're wanting to walk through the worksheet in order to see where we land with the worksheet and then see if we're
gonna have to do it anyways.
yeah, so you want to work through that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we're in deliberation, so we're not gonna open it up to comment. All right, so starting with Idaho Code 67-6511. We have to show that it's not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan. And I would draw us, so at least unless you have something else, I would draw us to look at the public services, facilities and utilities policy number 1. Which is on page what? Let's see. It's on page 9 of the staff report.
Under public services.
Yes, sir. So policy 1 reads, encourage high density development to take place within the boundaries of existing sewer and water areas. And so for me, I do find that it would be in conflict with that section of the comprehensive plan policy, since no urban water or sewer services are available, nor do any such water or sewer districts exist in the area.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is suburban considered high density?
That's up to us to decide. That's the problem. It's the higher density of our residential designations, right? Because we only have 3. Well, that's not true. Because when you start to get into things like Alpine Village and recreational or resort, it goes higher, but in general, I think we've always considered it, but I don't think we have a clear definition to be a higher
Right.
density residential use.
So because of that, I can't concur with that. Number one, that this is a high density request. And on the flip side, if you will, I think that what it's asked, to me, what one thing that it's asking is it in compliance with our comp plan, right? And I think by moving it out of rural 5 into suburban, that it actually brings it into compliance with our comp plan, where as it sits now, it is out of compliance with our comp plan.
Well, in this case, it's just the policies of the comprehensive plan.
Okay,
It says not in conflict with the policies of the adopted comprehensive plan.
okay.
Yeah, and I know it's weird, but that's the specific language of
Yeah,
the statute. So it's not talking about the land use designations on the map, it's saying policies.
so I wasn't able to find any reason that it was not. So I was a yes.
Okay.
And after hearing, your suggestion on the public services policy number 1, I can't agree to that one.
Okay.
Because I don't see a clear answer that this is a high density development.
Okay.
So if you're hung up on that, we can be a split decision, I guess, on
Yeah,
that.
I am on that one, so I
Okay.
think we're split on that one.
Is this now when we yell at each other?
I think so.
Okay.
And then, so then if we go to County Code 12-215. The application and documentation were sufficiently met for contents. I do find that that's in compliance, and I accept the conclusions of the staff report that the application was complete.
I do as well.
We're in agreement.
No, we can't argue.
Well, we have more opportunities. County Code 12-216. Is it not in conflict again with the policies of the comprehensive plan?
So I'm going to assume here that you're gonna go back to that one.
Yeah, I have the same conclusion I did on the first.
Okay. And I'm a yes on that.
Okay, so we're splitting this one again.
Yep.
Yelling and gnashing of teeth. And then County Code 12-323. Does it meet the requirements of the rural 5 zoning district? So this is where it gets weird, right?
Yep.
Because I think we agree it's a no,
Yes.
because it's not designated as rural residential in the comprehensive plan. So it doesn't technically meet the criteria for the rural 5 zoning district.
Correct.
Then our last question, 12-324,
Right.
does it meet the requirements for the suburban zoning district? And that's where I say no, because the parcels are not served by urban water or sewer. No water or sewer districts exist in the area. And the record has no evidence that urban water or sewer can be provided in the future. Like, we don't have a letter from DEQ, PH, something showing that that could be done, could be built out. Reasonably in the future. And also that Hatcher Road is a gravel road, not a hard surface road. So the transportation infrastructure requirement is not met. So for me, those are the 2 boxes I'm not able to check on the requirements list.
Yeah. And I stated earlier that I can get around the road issue.
Yeah.
To me, I don't think that is a big deal for the request for the zone change. But I am getting hung up on the urban services. I'm just not seeing that the agreement to make, and I don't quite remember what the agreement was to service. There is no existing community sewer system.
Correct.
There are multiple community water systems. It sounds like, just in the situation of sharing a well.
Yeah,
I think there's a capability, because there's the gray area again. Is there a capability? Sure, I think there's probably always a capability of urban service or someone coming in, building a network of sewer systems and water systems, pretty much anywheres.
Yeah, and that's where, again, unfortunately, in our own code, it kind of gets stated 2 different ways, which creates a little bit of confusion, because there's under 12-324, there's A and B.
Right.
The B language is a little bit more open. Where it talks about that capability to extend or construct, and for me, like you said, it's likely something we could build something, but also we don't have anything in the record saying that it would be permitted by DEQ or PhD. But the more restrictive language is in subsection A. And it talks about coming available in the near future by reason of their inclusion in service districts, which means, right, city service areas or adjacent to those areas. So it's basically saying you have to have an existing system somewhere in the area that you can tie into. Yeah.
And that does not
There's
exist.
nothing around there, it's showing up on the map. They're just relying on on-site systems. And so I don't see where, while it was noted that under County Code 12-821 urban services, that's where it was talked about, that you could do something that's individual or shared system subject to an approved sewer management agreement. But we don't have an approved agreement to create such a system for us right now. And, when we get into the specific suburban district, it's defined it a little bit differently than that generic definition. Is it's saying it has to tie into a service. And it's, you know, so it defines that. So it's gone beyond what the generic urban service description is, and it said this is what it needs to be. From my read.
So I didn't see anywhere in my paperwork where it showed the lot sizes of suburban. Is it down to 2.5 acres? Is that?
You can go down to one, it depends on your services.
Okay,
So, yeah, so they have different criteria. So you have no urban services. You have water only, water and sewer. And so you get different size limitations depending on what types of services you have available.
so I guess that kind of brings up my point that if this were allowed to be zoned into suburban, not knowing what the subdivision plans look like, they could be 2.5 acre parcels. Would be just an assumption, in which case, a private well and a private septic system is still allowed on 2.5 acres, if I'm not mistaken.
And we can go,
Could be wrong.
we can pull that up.
Since you have viewed,
You said I should use paper.
you can see the advantages of both now, huh?
Yeah. Can staff point us please to the specific code section that describes? It's 6, is it?
So Commissioner, the section you're looking for is 12-412. Well, that lays out the different densities and what services are required for the 2.5 acres going down to the 10,000 square feet. So for 2.5 acres, it is an individual well, an individual septic system. To get down to 10,000 square feet, it's all urban services, meaning sewer, water to the lot. And then 1 acre be a community system, or it can be a community drain field, an individual well for the 1 acre. And 20,000 square feet if it's just urban sewer. And if it's only urban water, it's 1 acre.
Thank you. for clarifying that.
Yes, thank you.
And so what I find really interesting and disturbing at the same time is the actual details don't conform with the description of the suburban district that's in our code. Because they're talking about having individual systems at that lot size when the suburban district description doesn't allow for that.
Right, so my opinion after hearing that, urban services capability should not even be in the description, the descriptor of the suburban. So, because just as it was stated, 2.5 acres is a suburban zone, yet there's absolutely no requirement to have urban services, isn't it?
And the difference is from a hierarchy perspective, right? The comprehensive plan should inform the zoning. And then ultimately we should get into the density dimensional use standards and all of that. So from my mind, from a hierarchy perspective, 12-412 is not actually consistent with what the higher rule of the description of the suburban zone is saying. I actually think we have a conflict in our code because I don't think this is complying with the higher level of authority of description of the suburban zone. I think we just discovered something that's not good.
And then I'm pulling back to you on the fact that rural fives aren't designed to be in that transition.
You know,
So there's a conundrum there.
yeah, so and I don't want to belabor it if we're not gonna be able to reach, and I know it's not easy, but if we're not gonna reach an agreement, since there's only 2 of us say, based on the criteria specific to the description of the suburban zoning district, I don't believe it meets it because of those 2 items. And I can try to convince myself of things that could be done in the future if it becomes, a subdivision development, anything of that nature, but just on the criteria that I believe we're supposed to make the decision upon based on the description in the code of the suburban zone, I'm not able to find that compliance. So, and we had split opinions on a few of the critical items to come to a decision on the worksheet.
Yeah.
So if you're leaning toward preferring to approve the suburban zone change, then I think you and I are split. And so we could ask the applicant's representative if they prefer to continue this hearing till a future date where we might have a 3-member board. Or else we're gonna be a split decision and therefore it's gonna be not approved. So
Yeah.
would you be willing to
I'm willing
see if the applicant's representative would like to have us continue the hearing? Mr. Representative? Mr. Provost, would you like us to continue the hearing to see if we can get a 3-member board?
It would be a great idea. But try again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it correct that we need to continue to a date certain? And do we have, I know tomorrow is not viable because we won't have a third commissioner tomorrow
Right.
for the calendar.
So yesterday you continued one file to the 27th. That's the implementation component. We have one other zone change file for that day. Given that Commissioner Williams isn't here, we'll likely need to either ask her to review the presentation and the discussion today and get caught up. But if she doesn't have time to do that, we'll have to re-present and go from there. So
Yeah.
I don't know on timing wise, the 27th, we could add it to that, continue it to that date and see how much time the board has during that hearing. Otherwise, I just booked a bunch of workshops this morning, so
Yes, you did.
your guys' calendar is getting full with a bunch of land use stuff. A lot of those aren't applicant driven. Alex, we have any other dates available? If you look at like our file tracker to see it.
August 27th,
August 27th is open.
we have, it looks like one file.
We'll have 2 that day. That was the one that Jake just said. The implementation component.
Yeah, implementation component.
Oh,
that day.
okay, I'm sorry. That is the date you mentioned.
And then. The 10, we have the 10th. There's 2 files that day.
We can add it to the 27th.
I just am a little concerned that the implementation component may take a substantial amount of time at that hearing. Depending on, I just don't know what we're gonna get for comment and how
That's
much
fair.
we're gonna have to work through. We can certainly try. What I don't wanna do is continue to a date that we have to continue again potentially and do that to the applicant. So if the applicant's agreeable to wait until September 10th, I think we're gonna have a more likely opportunity to get through the files on that day, because one of those is a road vacation. And those typically don't take as much time. And the other file is a comp plan amendment, a map amendment. But the road vacation typically, I think we found are fairly efficient time-wise. Would you be agreeable to September 10th?
That would be great.
I think September 10th will be a better date then. So September 10th at 1:30, make the motion to continue.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion on file number. ZC 00002-25, the zone change roll 5 to suburban, continue to September 10th at 1:30.
Step down in second. Any board deliberation? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Point,
Yes.
Commissioner Donkey,
Yes. Motion carries. And before we move on to file, the next file, gonna do a 10-minute recess for everyone to get ready for the next file and take a quick break if they need it. Everybody good? Sounds good. All right, so we will recess until 4:55. I'm sorry, 3:55. We are late. But it's okay, because we're not early.
Okay. Well, remember that.
Okay. It is 3:57. And we have come out of recess and we are moving to file VS 0001-25. Vacation Title 50, vacation of plat. We'll begin with, is there anyone who needs any special accommodations? Seeing no one in the room who's requesting that and no one online. Conflicts of interest by the board.
Commissioner Corn has no conflicts of interest.
Commissioner Domke has none. And then with that, we'll turn it over to staff for their presentation of the staff report for this file.
Thank you, Commissioner. Kyle Snyder, Bonner County Planning Staff for the record. I will be presenting to you file VS 0001-25, which is a Title 50 plat vacation for a vacation of the north half of Lot 6 of the Chase Creek plat. Quick project summary. The petitioner is requesting to vacate the north half of Lot 6, an approximate 2.5 acre lot from the plat of Chase Creek. This request is based on the desire of the landowner to complete a boundary line adjustment with an overlapping parcel without making a remainder that is further reduced in size and usability. On the left is the site plan that was submitted showing that area to be vacated. On the right hand side is just a GIS image with that the lot highlighted.
I'm sorry, could I just pause you real quick?
Yes.
If I understood, the intent is to only the north half?
Correct. Yeah, this
What's
was actually,
highlighted is the full 2.5 acre parcel?
yep. So they were actually split up prior to 2008, so they became legally separate lots. So the highlighted portion is just the north half of Lot 6, and the south half of Lot 6 was actually absorbed by the parcel to the south of that piece
Okay, so that's why on GIS it's showing up as not
as its own.
another 2.5 acre.
Correct. Yep, it was absorbed by that piece.
Okay, thank you. That was a little confusing for me to try to track in the description. That's very helpful. Thank you.
So there are your applicable standards of Idaho code. You have 1306A and 1317. So some quick background on the site. There are no hydrologic features on the site. The lot is within SFHA Zone A. It's the top right corner. It barely touches the parcel, but it is on there. So few slopes from 0 to 30%, as you can see by the yellow and red color. The area to be vacated is approximately 2.5 acres, and access to the property is currently provided via East River Road, which is a Bonner County owned and maintained public right of way. This petition was noticed to neighbors within 300 feet on July 1st and was noticed in the newspaper on July 1st and 11th. At the time the staff report was prepared, no public agencies comments were received, but we did receive no comment responses from DEQ, Kootenai Pend Oreille Sewer District, ITD, IDWR, Fish and Game, and Bonner County Historical Society. No other agencies notified of the request replied. And at the time the staff report was prepared, we received one no comment from the public. So for the review of 1306, this project has been reviewed for conformance with Idaho Code 50-1306A, which is vacation of plats procedure. Following facts relate to the standards of review. Petition to vacate a platted area complies with all state procedures set forth in IC 50-1306A and Idaho Code 50-1317. In the case of easements granted for gas, sewer, water, telephone, cable, television, power, drainage, and existing travelway, these easements are to be left intact and are not vacated through the provisions of this petition. Finally, abandonment would not impede or deprive any property of legal access. So some finding of fact, the applicant is requesting to vacate the north half of Lot 6, again, an approximate 2.5 acre lot from the plat of Chase Creek. Based on material submitted in the application, no real property adjoining the area to be vacated would be left without access to an established highway or public right of way. Petition was submitted to the planning department on January 13th, 2025. This petition was noticed to neighbors within 300 feet on July 1st and published in the newspaper on the 1st and the 11th of July. Staff has received no public or agency comments or feedback opposing the proposed vacation. And then there's a proposed amended finding of fact, the last finding of fact. You'll notice that in the staff report, it says vacation of this right of way. It's actually vacation of this portion of the plat will not extinguish any rights of way or easements for the continued use of existing gas, sewer, water, or similar pipelines and appurtenances or other underground facilities.
So you are amending that,
Proposing the amendment, yes, the staff
Thank you.
report incorrectly said right of way.
thank you for clarifying.
As far as your conclusions of law, conclusion 1, this proposal is or is not compliant with the vacation criteria and standards set forth at Idaho Code 50-1306A. And the staff finding, this petition was submitted to the planning department on the 12th. The petition was noticed to neighbors within on July 1st and was noticed in newspaper on July 1st and the 11th. For the application, there are no ingress, egress, or utility easements in the area that's proposed to be vacated. Local utility providers were routed as part of the agency review and none responded. Conclusion 2, by granting of this petition for vacation, easements will not be vacated according to the legal description. Staff finding for the petition, there are no easements within the area proposed to be vacated. Conclusion 3, abandonment will or will not impede or deprive any property of legal access. Staff finding the area proposed to be vacated will be absorbed by bordering properties through a boundary line adjustment. Therefore, no property will be left without legal access. And conclusion 4, granting this petition for vacation is or is not in the public's interest. There were some suggested conditions of approval. A1, the vacation of the above described platted area shall be effective upon the recording of a resolution by the Bonner County Commissioners granting the vacation. A2, no lots or parcels shall be left without legal access. 3, the applicant shall submit and complete an application for a boundary line adjustment. And some B conditions to be met prior to the recording of the resolution. Costs for legal advertisements and reporting fees shall be borne by the petitioner and shall be paid prior to the recording of the resolution. And B2, the vacation of the platted area shall only be for the lot as described above. All easements existing on the subject area shall remain in place. Final decision rests with the governing body after the completion of the public hearing and consideration of all relevant oral and written testimony. That box is blocking me. And evidence. Oh, I thought it was okay. Any questions for me?
Commissioner?
Nope, thanks.
I do have one. Is it, if I'm understanding the intent for the lot line adjustment, is it then the intent to have this parcel essentially absorbed into the parcel to the north to create a larger parcel?
Correct. Actually, from a conversation with the applicant, this portions of this lot will actually be absorbed by this small lot. You can kind of see fronting the road.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get back to the
one with the dwelling, looks like
Yep.
multiple structures on it.
a portion of it will be absorbed by this lot or parcel, and then the rest will be absorbed by this one.
Okay. So then if abandoned, it would increase the parcel size of 2 adjacent parcels.
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
There's nobody.
Okay. Do we have any public comments in favor of the proposal? Do we have any public comment neutral? Proposal? And do we have any public comment opposed to the proposal? Seeing no public comment, we will close public comment and move into board deliberation.
I don't see any, I don't see any reason not to approve this.
I agree. I agree with the findings and conclusions in the staff report. And believe that it is compliant with the applicable Idaho codes. And I actually think it's better for the county to see small parcels like this to become absorbed into larger parcels. Just provides for more appropriate development opportunities, setbacks and things of that nature. And staff has a comment,
If I may.
please do.
Alex Van, Assistant Director. You'll notice in there that there wasn't a finding for conclusion 4, which is to find that it is in the public interest, is or is not in the public interest. So you will have to make a determination of that and also include a finding of why it is or is not in the public interest.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
And I think we also, because they're proposed, or I'm sorry, suggested conditions of approval, I think we would need a motion to approve to somewhere include that we're adopting the conditions of approval.
What about right after I move to approve this petition? You like that or not?
Including the conditions of approval? Yeah. Sounds good to me. Anything else that we need to? Yes, so we need to get them up with the assistant director for conclusion 4 was noting that if we agree that we find that the petition for vacation is in the public's interest, the reason would be why. I think we just discussed, in my opinion, the reason would be that since the vacation of this parcel will support enlarging 2 adjacent parcels. And by having larger parcels, you can, in my opinion, more appropriately build on and develop land because you have more space to deal with setbacks and other things that are important for doing property. Do you agree with that perspective?
Yeah, but I'm gonna shorten it up. If you don't mind.
If you make the motion, you may do as you wish.
She don't wanna make motions.
No, I don't have to second it. Let's not get into motions to amend, right?
Right.
Take a while.
I'm just gonna write down that vacation will improve the adjoining parcel.
Yeah, I think it's parcels plural, just because there's 2 that would be enlarged. Yeah, that's what's not pointed out.
All right. I am prepared to make a motion.
Okay, and ready to entertain a motion.
I move to approve this petition with the conditions of approval, file number VS 0001-25 to vacate north half of lot 6, an approximate 2.5 acre lot from the plat of Chase Creek, finding that it is in accord with Idaho Code as enumerated and the following conclusions of law. Conclusion 1, this proposal is compliant with the vacation criteria and standards set forth at Idaho Code 50-13068. Finding, this petition was submitted to the planning department on January 13th, 2025. This petition was noticed to neighbors within 300 feet of on July 1st, 2025, and was noticed in the newspaper on July 1st, 2025 and July 11th, 2025. Per the application, there are no ingress, egress, or utility easements in the area that is proposed to be vacated. Local utility providers were routed as part of an agency review and none responded. Idaho Code 50-1317 does not apply to this project as the area is not located within the city limits. Conclusion 2, by granting of this petition for vacation, easements will not be vacated according to the legal description. Finding, per the petition, there are no easements within the area proposed to be vacated. Conclusion 3, abandonment will not impede or deprive any property of legal access. Finding, The area proposed to be vacated will be absorbed by bordering properties through a boundary line adjustment, therefore no property will be left without legal access. Conclusion 4, granting of this petition for vacation is in the public's interest. Finding this vacation will improve the adjoining parcels. This decision is based upon the evidence submitted up to the time the staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing. I further move to adopt the findings of fact and direct planning staff to draft written findings and conclusions to reflect this motion and transmit to all interested parties. The action that could be taken to obtain the vacation is to complete the conditions of approval as adopted. This action does not result in the taking of private property.
Stood down a second. Or deliberation, none. And I just want to pause to ask Mr. Wilson if he caught the finding. If he thinks that that's going to be sufficient for the reason statement with regard to.
We don't have a reason statement for.
Oh, okay.
40s, Title 50.
Okay, so it can be
Specific to language.
much more abbreviated.
So we are adopting just these findings, anything based on your deliberation. It's a short response, I won't get up, but, so that's what we need a deliberation on, is to be like, how do you determine what is the public interest as it relates to this plat vacation? So all we have to do is craft a finding that covers that conclusion of law. That's why Mr. Fang came up here and asked you guys to deliberate on that. So we'll amend.
Deliberation will help, and it doesn't have to be fully explained in the finding itself.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
So long as we're meeting that statute and we have findings that show how we're meeting the statute, we're good.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. Just since these are a little different, I want to be sure we've captured enough detail.
I'm not practicing law, but I thought I captured it.
Any further deliberation? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Donkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorn,
Yes. Motion carries. That concludes file VS 0001-25. We will now move to file ZC 0006-25, zone change rural 10 to rural 5. And we'll start with, does anyone need any assistance, hearing or otherwise? Seeing none. Conflict of interest by the commissioners?
Commissioner Corn has no conflicts of interest.
Commissioner Domke has no conflicts of interest. With that, we'll turn it over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Kyle Snyder again for the record. I'll be presenting to you file ZC 0006-25, which is a zone change request from rural 10 to rural 5. Quick project summary. Again, the applicant's requesting a zone change from rural 10 to rural 5 on one parcel, approximately 10 acres in size. Project is located off Doris Lane in Section 6, Township 55 North, Range 5 West, Boise Meridian. The comprehensive plan designation is rural residential 5 to 10 acres. This request was evaluated against the standards for rural 10 and rural 5. On the right side there, you'll see a proposed kind of the site plan that was submitted, which is they're proposing to split the property in half. These are the standards of Bonner County Revised Codes that this property or this project was reviewed against. Some background on the site. The use is residential. It is currently unplatted. It is a 10-acre parcel in the rural 10 zone. Land use designation rural residential 5 to 10 acres. And again, that access is from Doris Lane, which is a privately owned and privately maintained road. As far as your environmental factors, the site does contain some map slopes of 0 to 30%. On that right side is the GIS grade or breakdown. So you're seeing a whole lot of green there. That's your 5 to 10% slopes. And then your yellow and red obviously is your 10 to 30%. The site does not contain any map wetlands, does not contain any frontage on any lakes, rivers, or streams. Parcel is within SFHA Zone D per the firm panel shown. The site has Bonner gravelly, ashy silt loam, 0 to 4% slopes. Well drained and classifies as all areas are prime farmland. As far as your services, water is provided by individual well. Your sewage is an individual septic system. West Ponderay Fire District, Avista Utility, and West Bonner School District 83 all serve the site. Full list of agencies routed can be found in the Appendix A. We did not receive any comments from public agencies. Following agencies replied no comment: BEQ, ITD, and Fish and Game. And at the time the staff report was prepared, no public comments were received. So here are your classifications for rural 10. Rural 10 in areas designated as rural residential in the comprehensive plan that meet one of the following criteria. Characterized by slopes that are steeper than 30%, located within critical wildlife habitat as identified by federal, state, or local agencies, contain prime ag soils, served by a network of public and or private roadways that generally do not meet applicable roadway standards set forth in Title II, which is your public roads of this code, or Appendix A for private roads of this title, or are absent. E, within the floodway, or F, contain limited access to public services. R5 in areas designated rural residential in the comprehensive plan that are already developed at or near the 1 dwelling unit per 5 acre density and or do not meet the criteria for R10. There's kind of a side-by-side comparison of those standards. We'll get into the more detail here shortly. So characterized by slopes steeper than 30%. Subject lot does not appear to be characterized by slopes steeper than 30% as shown in the GIS LiDAR image earlier. The slopes on the property appear to follow existing trails or roads and are associated with the tree coverage. According to the land use portion of the comprehensive plan for density ranges, properties that are level to moderately sloped are appropriately sized to be 5 to 10 acres. Located within critical wildlife habitat. No critical wildlife area was determined by any public agency. Additionally, GIS data does not show the property within any critical wildlife habitat area. Contains prime ag soils. The parcel is made up entirely of Bonner gravelly ashy silt, 0 to 4% slopes. This falls under the designation of all areas of prime farmland. For the natural resources component, the land capability classification is 3S. Class 3 soils have severe limitations that reduce the choice of plants or require special conservation practices or both. Subclass S is made up of soils that have soil limitations within the rooting zone, such as shallowness of the rooting zone, stones, low moisture holding capacity, low fertility that is difficult to correct, and salinity or sodium content. There's a GIS image of that soil. Served by a network of public and or private roadways that generally do not meet applicable roadway standards. Access to the site is currently provided by Doris Lane, which is a privately owned and maintained road, with connection to Dry Creek Road, which is a Bonner County owned and privately maintained easement, which further connects to Hoodoo Loop, a Bonner County owned and maintained public right of way. In the floodway.
Question on that one?
Yes.
So do those roads that you just listed meet the applicable roadway standards set forth in Title II?
That information was not provided with the
It's not
application.
provided. Okay, thank you.
As far as within the floodway, the subject parcel is not located within a mapped floodway. And the parcel has access to public services. Public services that are available to this property include West Ponderay Fire District, Bonner County EMS and Sheriff, and Avista Utilities. So for your rural 5, developed at or near the 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. So within 1,200 feet of the subject parcel, there are 26 individual parcels or lots. It appears most surrounding properties in the immediate area are developed at 5+ acres. There are 15 parcels within 1,200 feet of this project that are developed with 1 dwelling per 5 acres. And the closest rural 5 zoning district borders the subject property to the east. And or does not meet criteria for R10. So the subject property does not appear to be characterized by steep slopes of 30% or greater. Does not have any identified critical wildlife habitat. It is not within a mapped floodway. Does have access to public services, and it is served by a network of public or private roads. Property does contain soil that is considered all areas are prime farmland. Zoning Commission recommendation was to approve. That was done on July 2nd, 2025 for a 4-0 vote. However, this is only a recommendation and the final decision rests with the governing body after the completion of the public hearing and consideration of all relevant oral and written testimony and evidence. Any questions for me, commissioners?
Thank you. Okay, we do not have an applicant representative. Do we therefore have, moving on to the next item, any public comment in support of this proposal? There's no comment. Okay, do we have any public comment neutral to this proposal? And do we have any public comments in objection to this proposal? Seeing no public comment, we will move into board deliberation. Or anything you would like to speak about at a high level, Commissioner, before we move into the worksheet?
I'm going to assume that on this file, we're basically looking at criteria and where we believe it fits, either a 5-acre zone or a 10-acre zone. That being said, after reviewing what was presented to us, I can't check any of the boxes on the Rule 10 requirements. It's not characterized by slopes steeper than 30%.
I agree with you. I don't believe it's characterized by slopes steeper than 30%.
That's not located within a critical wildlife habitat.
I agree with you on that.
It does not contain prime ag soils.
I disagree.
You disagree with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
the soils as mapped are classified as all areas of prime farmland. So per our comprehensive plan, natural resource section, that would qualify as prime agricultural soils.
Is that in this work?
Yes. Page 15.
So I'm reading, it says, per the natural resources component, the land capability classification is 3S. Class 3 soils have severe limitations that reduce the choice of plants or require special conservation practices or both. Subclass S is made up of soils that have soil limitations within the rooting zone, such as shallowness of the rooting zone, stones, low moisture holding capacity, low fertility that is difficult to correct, and salinity or sodium contents. So the way I read that, it's not prime ag soil.
So my understanding is that prime ag or prime farmland soils, because I think those become interchangeable, are defined by section 3.2 of the natural resource component of the comp plan. And it states that the designated categories of prime farmland are all areas of prime farmland, which is what this soil is classified as. Prime farmland if irrigated, prime farmland if drained, prime farmland if drained and protected from flooding or not frequently flooded during the growing season. So it gets a little confusing because when they get into the description for each type, every type of soil has limitations, and so they describe what all those limitations are. But by definition, in our comprehensive plan, natural resource component, that classified soil is designated as prime farmland. And so I actually think it becomes confusing when we provide the details of the description, because it makes it sound as if it's not prime farmland. It's just that it's a scientific determination of the limitations, but it's still classified or designated as prime farmland by the comp plan. You know what I mean? So we could say,
But it also says in the report, or in the report on this parcel, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is not discussing this specific parcel.
okay,
For the natural resources component, the land capability classification is 3S. So 3S seems like a more granular description of the all encompassing, all areas are prime farm. Is that's my takeaway on it.
so we can ask staff to clarify, but my understanding is that the land capability classification is not a determining factor in the comprehensive plan with regard to whether or not it's considered prime agricultural soil.
Correct, the 3S is the. Have it up here. So just, that's. You guys can pull it up here.
And that's why I'm saying that classification is correct and accurate, but I think it's data that's maybe taking us down a path that's not helping us look at what the comprehensive plan says prime ag or prime farmland soil actually is.
Right, you,
Is that why we're getting rid of it?
Probably.
Commissioner, and you're correct, where the Bonner gravelly ashy sill loam 0 to 4% slope is considered all areas of prime farmland, but as you go into a further description of that specific soil, that's where you get to that subclassification of 3S.
Okay, thank you.
So then is it accurate to say from your perspective that when we look at the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan, the natural resources component, which is what defines prime farmland soils or prime agricultural soils, that it has the 4 designated categories of prime farmland, which is all areas of prime farmland, and then they have the ones if irrigated, if drained, and protected from flooding. This one falls in the first category of all areas of prime farmland. That's great. And so that's why I'm saying I'm not picking on the staff report. I'm just saying that there was a high level of detail provided, which is appreciated, but that level of detail is not part of the definition within the comprehensive plan as to whether or not it's considered a prime agricultural or prime farmland soil. Is that your understanding as well?
Correct.
Okay. And that's where it just gets a little, because you can take any type of soil that's on the map, and every single one will have some kind of restriction described, some limitation that it has. So the fact that it describes limitations doesn't mean that it is or isn't good soil for farming. That's been defined for us at this higher level. It's just helping us understand, what might you have to do to work with it, but the comp plan has already defined what the prime ag soil is.
And I'm having a hard time understanding that because it should be classified in the comp plan, which you're showing me there, as with limitations or not just all encompassing, because to me, when it says it has severe limitations, how can that be prime farmland with severe limitations, not just some? The word severe is telling me, there's some serious issues, and also the salt content of the soil makes it very hard for any type of plant to survive.
And that's the related table. So I understand what you're saying, but per our comp plan, this is the way it's defined. It doesn't get into that higher level of detail. And so we can,
And I guess
they
all
practical use, but that's not how it's defined.
right, but they gave us that more granular soil type for this parcel or for this area. Is that correct? Planning?
Well, the staff report includes it, yes, but it's not pertinent to the definition of whether or not it's prime agricultural soil. It's prime agricultural soil. It's defined in the comp plan.
Okay,
And
so we're playing with words.
No, you're talking about, if I'm a farmer, right, you're talking about the practicality of it is what I'm hearing. If I'm a farmer and I want to grow something in this particular soil, I have these limitations.
Severe.
Yep.
Is what
It could be
it said.
severe, it could be very severe, it could be not severe at all,
Uh,
but this is what the definition is of what is or isn't considered prime farmland soil, if, just by definition,
right.
these are the facts we have to work with. We're not being asked to decide what you could grow and what it would take to grow it. We're being told these soil types are considered prime farmland. Is my,
I just have some serious issues when, if it's going to be considered in the comp plan, and I gotta question whether or not it's properly, of an emergency.
okay, it is 4:32 and we're gonna recess until 4:37. It's 4:37. We're coming out of recess for file ZC 0006-25. And we are in board deliberation. Okay. So we're talking about soils.
We're talking about soils, and it sounds like we're in disagreement on that. I'm reading it and interpreting it different, I think, than you are.
I think that's the case, and for the sake of efficiency, I can tell you that the last question on our worksheet as to whether or not it meets the requirements for the rural 5 zoning district, that my answer is no, and the reason for that answer is due to the presence of prime agricultural soils.
Okay,
So, because for me, that means therefore it meets the criteria for R10 and therefore does not meet the criteria for R5. And so if you're on the opposite side of that perspective, then we're at a disagreement, I think, on the final decision.
yeah,
And so we can choose to continue this one to see if we can get a third commissioner to be a tiebreaker. I hate to have to keep doing this, but otherwise it's an automatic denial. Well, it's a non-decision, which means it's a non-approval, which is the same as a denial, even though it's not technically called one, right?
No, so here you have an underlying recommendation to approve from the zoning commission. So a tie vote at the board level is just a failure to make a decision. So we need a decision for like a due process concern for the applicants. So
we really need to wait then.
Yep.
Because it's
if you guys are at an impasse, then
yeah,
I think we have to continue to have a third
Okay.
commissioner.
I think that makes sense, because it sounds like we're both pretty staunch on our position, so I think we need to get a third commissioner to break the tie.
Okay.
All right, yeah, so let's pick a date.
And, just for clarification, the amendments to chapter 2, I think we crafted earlier in the year, would solve this issue. Because it would say at a tie vote, let's say you have one that has to step down for conflict, a tie vote, the recommendation becomes a final decision of the board. So just as a point, we understand this is a frustration in our code. This has come up a couple of times now, so we have a code revision. Hopefully it's adopted by the end of next
I was
month.
gonna say it's not in effect yet.
Nope, not at all.
So
So,
we could go ahead.
It's
and go
just
through.
dangling that carrot in front of us,
No.
but pulling it away.
no, it's just when you identify the issue, sometimes I can say I already worked on a resolution and
Yes.
it's in the
I
works.
do recall this discussion, and I'm glad that we're gonna have something
Mhm.
to.
So it's been crafted, Bill reviewed it with me and goes to the planning commission on the 27th and to the board hopefully on the 22nd, I think is what it's lined up for right now. Next month.
So we already talked about a prior continuation where we thought the 27th of this month was not a good idea because that was probably gonna be already a full hearing.
And yeah, but this one won't take a lot of time though. Would that be your general consensus?
We have
chapter 6.
Well, that's a good.
So I think you have two, no, that's the planning commission.
If
On the
Commissioner-
27th, you only have 2 files on right now, because the other one, wait, no, was it?
We
There
moved that one to September 10th.
was one to September 10th.
Implementation component, one's a quasi judicial.
Yeah, so you have a zone change and the implementation component on the 27th, so if you want to try to fit it in there, you
Maybe we
can.
could try to make it work on the 27th. If Commissioner Williams can review the file in advance, then.
It's a small.
The worksheet's short. It's just a question of getting through this discussion. So yeah, that's a good point. We might be able to make it. Let's try it.
Sure. I'll have
27th of August at 1:30.
I'll have Kyle's forward the staff report and an email with the link to this YouTube. If you can timestamp it for this discussion. So Commissioner Williams can review it and see if she wants us to present again, we can.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You ready?
All right, ready to take a motion.
I will make the motion that we continue this hearing. File number ZC 0006-25. Zone change rule 10 to rule 5. To August 27th at 1:30.
Step down in second. Any deliberation by the board?
I have none.
Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Donkey,
Yes,
Commissioner Thorn,
Yes.
motion carries. And that concludes our public hearing for today. I'm not gonna use the word adjourn because we've continued something